Welcome back to the Comp Closet podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Sarah Priestley, and today we are lucky enough to be joined by the FMG Fitness 35 Plus World Champion, Tammie Sarkozy. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for asking me to come on. And it's still mind blowing to me, that title. So I sort of had a little giggle to myself when you said that.
It must still feel so surreal to actually hear that said
It
out
really
loud, right?
does. Because, like, otherwise you're just an everyday person doing everyday things.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone met you today, they'd see a world champion, they'd hear that title, they'd see that you're a coach and a leader. But who were you before all of this?
Look, I've been in this industry for 15 years now. So I'm trying to think, who was I before? To be honest, to be dead honest, I think I was someone before I stepped into the fitness industry and went down the path of competing and coaching. I actually really hated my life. I was not happy. Like, I had no purpose and direction. And I feel like it was a very good life-changing decision to head down this path, regardless of competitions, but the health and fitness journey itself. I think that was a fork in the road for me.
Yes, absolutely. And what was it that actually made you get into bodybuilding? Did you have a relationship with fitness at all growing up? Like, were you always active?
Look, growing up, I was always active. So I did lots and lots and lots of sport in school. My family, super healthy. My mum has literally every intolerance under the sun. So we were very healthy growing up. So it was always ingrained into me to live that way. However, when I moved out of home, it's like, I want to eat nachos for dinner. I want white bread. It was, you sort of rebel against that, but it's always in your roots. But what changed for me was, I was working in admin and I really did hate my job. I hated it because I was just, like I said before, there was no purpose to what I was doing. Like, I wasn't serving anything greater than printing shit out for people or doing I used to do like draft work for engineers. I hated it. It was mundane. And then my boss, I loved him. He was like, I worked with great people. I just didn't love where I was at in my life. He somehow roped me into doing the 10K bridge to Brisbane. Are you from Brizzy? Yeah, the bridge to
I,
Brisbane.
I live in Brisbane now, but I'm not originally from here.
It's just a fun run. Like, it's just a 10K fun run. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I hadn't run any more than 2Ks in my life going back to high school at that point, which would have been maybe 10 years ago. And it was a very challenging experience for me to get to the point of running 10Ks, but I downloaded this terrible little 8-week program off the internet. This is like 2008, 2009. So internet was not fantastic. And I did the 10Ks and it was fine. And that sort of just opened this pathway of, wow, like, I just did a thing that was really hard and I did it. And in that process, I lost 5 kilos. And I wasn't by any means fat. I was like literally 55 kilos and I lost weight to 50. And that gives you a bit of context of how much muscle I built in my lifespan. But it was a bit of a transformation, like mentally and aesthetically. And in that lead up to the fun run, one of my friends ran a jiu-jitsu studio or a jiu-jitsu dojo, and they ran CrossFit classes as conditioning classes for their athletes. And so he invited me to do them in preparation for the 10K run. And I just fell in love. So in that 8 weeks, or 8 weeks, I think it was, I lost 5 kilos and my delts literally just blew up. I was like, what is happening to me? And it was just so many transformations. I was like, I can't stop. And so, I kept doing these classes and then he eventually asked me to coach them. And I was like, I just love this. And then the coaching just sort of like naturally fell into place from there. And then I did my courses and then I quit my job and became a full-time PT. Loved it. And then as I'm getting fitter and stronger, my body's changing. I'm just getting these comments from people, like at the supplement store, at the, shops where you buy dumbbells and stuff. You should do fitness comps. And I'm like, what's a fitness comp? Like 2010, this is now. Nobody did shows then. It was very old school. I think ICN at that point was right. It was very, very, very new. So I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Eventually did a show. And just to give more context of how new this was in the world in Australia, being announced over the speaker that day of my first show, we have a record of 72 competitors.
Wow.
Two of them were fitness models. There were two people in the fitness model division. Two. I did figure at that point there was two, and there was no bikini division. So
Right.
anyway, that's how it evolved for me.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear that whole story of like getting into fitness for this goal that someone else kind of roped you into. And then it kind of does have that snowball effect of realizing, oh, I actually can do the hard things. And then you start seeing the changes, and then you kind of move into this sport, which is, I guess, like more aesthetic. What was the moment that you actually decided to compete in bodybuilding? You obviously kind of discovered what it was and decided to do it. Do you remember like a set moment that you're like, okay, I'm going to actually commit to a show or a prep?
Yeah, I do. Because people were saying this, like you should do a fitness. They kept calling it a fitness competition, or I can't remember, but it wasn't the correct term. And I'm like, I actually don't know what any of you were talking about. But this is, everyone keeps saying this. And so I went to this supplement store that sold gym equipment. This was over in Carindale in Brisbane. And there was a guy there, and I began to get to know him because I kept buying dumbbells and bits of equipment here and there. And his name was Vinny. And I'm pretty sure he's still a judge for ICN now. Don't know if he's moved on. But anyway, he's like, in his American accent, I know this person. You should go and see. Her name's Joe Rogers. Do you know who Joe Rogers is?
No.
Oh, see, I go so far back. Joe Rogers was the initial OG posing coach.
Mhm.
There was nobody else who taught posing. It was Joe Rogers. That was it. She taught everyone. And you would drive an hour to Jindalee to go see her, and she'd be booked out for weeks. Joe Rogers. So I'm like, all right, like, let's go see what this is all about. So I drive to see Joe Rogers, and I still have no idea really what this is about. Because again, the internet, then you look up like fitness competition and it comes up people doing gymnastics and stuff, or you get the big bodybuilders. Like I'm talking NABBA bodybuilders where you're like, I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I don't know if that's really my cup of tea. Anyway, so I go to this posing session. And Joe says to me, all right, get into your bikini. I'll be back in a minute. So she leaves. I stand there in my bikini, and she comes in and she's like, holy shit, you have hamstrings. And I'm like, am I not meant to? And she was like, Tammie, you have potential. And at that point, I wanted to do fitness model. She's like, you have to do figure. You're too big for fitness model. This is, for the natural competitions, your INBA, your A&B at the time. And so I sort of just took her guidance and went with what she said, learning as I went. Because again, so new, nobody knew what this was about. And yeah, just had a coach. Well, sort of a coach. I had someone doing programming for me for the gym I worked at. But he kind of packed up and left midway. So I sort of just, honestly, I was winging the whole thing. Other than I did have a proper dietitian. She had never prepped a bodybuilder. And keeping in mind, like these are dietitians that are very connected in the space. She prepped me as though she was prepping a fighter. And it worked.
It's cool that you got that, the initial guidance that was so good in terms of, having a posing coach who can actually see that potential in you, because
She
I
was
feel
my
like
saving grace. She was
yeah.
the only one that really knew anything about it. And I actually remember calling up a gym. There was a gym behind me where I worked in West End. And they had this big poster on their wall of like a bodybuilder. And I was like, that would be perfect. And so I called them up. Hey, I'm interested in getting coached for bodybuilding. And the woman on the phone was like, to be blunt, she was an asshole. She was like, you really need to have what it takes to do shows like this. And not many people do. So it's probably not something you're interested in doing. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, wow. Right then. I'm like, okay. And then that was that. It was such a weird space for bodybuilding at the time.
Yeah, I think we're so lucky these days that like you can literally just go on Instagram and see so many different people's journeys coming from all sorts of backgrounds, and there's just coaches left, right, and center for whatever you need, and information everywhere, YouTube vlogs, like whatever you need, you can find it online
Now I
so
think
easily.
yeah, and it's the complete opposite. Like beforehand, all I could find online was big steroid infused bodybuilders who ate chicken and broccoli and 5 almonds. And now now it's overwhelming what you can find. It's like, what do you believe? From no options to too many options. So yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely. So can you walk us through your competition history? What was your first show like? And then how did you actually get to the world stage?
So my first show was 2011, and that was as a figure competitor, and I did the INBA and A and B in 2011 season B. Uh, Figure was the dominant female division then. Like I said before, 2 people in fitness model, and there might have been 20 in the figure category I did. I won one of the divisions, came third in another, and then I did A and B 2 weeks later. I think I won both divisions. So I was doing figure and what was at that time called physique. And so then I went to nationals and didn't even get looked at. And it was really weird for me to experience that on stage. And, there's a lot of people who would, where a judge doesn't even look at you. I really do think judges should put attention into looking at all competitors because that's a really shitty feeling, right? And after that, I was like, not because of that experience. I still had an amazing experience at nationals, but I was like, I don't ever want to do that again. That was too hard. I'm happy to carry on with my life. And then 3 months later, I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to do it again. So then 2012, I did season A and B. Huge transformation in that time because I think I had the muscle maturity that developed in those few months of time off because I guess just maturity in the gym, like it just hit around that time. So when I came back to season A, I looked so different, much more proportional, better muscle density. I won my divisions, so I qualified for nationals, which was in season B. So then I did season B, nationals for A and B and INBA. I won the Australian title for INBA figure, and I can't remember A and B. Oh, Asia Pacifics. Do you know it? I won the overall title for that and got sponsored to the Muscle Mania show in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was November. So I did a full year of competing. And if I have one piece of advice to any competitor, don't do back-to-back shows. It's living hell. And I mean that with every molecule of my soul. It is a living hell, and there are better ways to do or select your shows. But because I got that sponsorship, I carried on through the year. So then I went to Vegas and I won the world title. So I won a world title back in 2012, got my pro card with Muscle Mania, and then took a year off, turned to powerlifting. Huge improvements. Then in 2014, went to Miami in Florida to do the Universe Pro division. And then there I won my Universe title. So,
Wow.
yeah, I had a history of competing under my belt before hitting FMG. After that, I was like, you know what? I feel pretty good. I'm happy to leave it there. And then I fell down the rabbit hole of CrossFit for 5 years and loved it. Got into very competitive and went to the CrossFit Games in 2016. And over the course of that 5 or 6 years, built another fuck ton of muscle, right? Then I had some pretty bad injuries. Like they're still haunting me to this day. And I'm like, I can't do CrossFit anymore. What am I going to do? I'm going to do another bodybuilding show. And at that point, I'm like, I'm seeing the athletes for the shows in the natural competitions. And I feel like I need to step over to different federations because I'm like, without sounding like I'm arrogant, I knew I would just win. Because as a coach as well, I've been going to every show, every ICN, every NBA, ANB show for 5 or 6 years. I knew the quality, and as well, most of them are newer to the shows, to competing. Meanwhile, I've been doing it now and training seriously for 6 or 7 years. And that's why I was like, I'm going to do WBFF at the time. Can I do it? And I was intimidated because I knew it's an untested federation. Being a natural athlete, that is that is very intimidating. And didn't want to do figure. I'm too small for the figure in WBFF. So I did fitness and had no idea of where I would stand. And that was 2019. And then, yeah, I won my pro card.
Wow.
And I honestly, I was mind blown because that meant so much to me being amongst that caliber of people, having so much time off. And then, wanting to do the pro show. I wanted to do a pro show after that because I'd qualified as a pro. Went to do the 2021 COVID. Would have been. COVID cancelled the show I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't waste any more time. I'm 37 years old. I need to have a baby, pumped a baby out. And then that's why my show last year in 2025 was another huge gap between. And then, did the New Zealand show, won my category in 35 plus, came second in opens, and then did worlds 2 weeks later.
That
That
is
is the history of my life.
That's massive, but also, like, could see how many shows you've done and how much competing experience you actually had before you stood on stage with WBFF and then FMG, and, like, the fact that
Yeah.
as you said, pumped out a baby in between as well is pretty
Yeah.
cool, like, so much that you fit in. Out of interest, like, back when you were doing the CrossFit training and you decided you were kinda done with bodybuilding, what were you doing with nutrition? Were you just fueling for performance? Like, were you trying to gain muscle, or was it purely just, like, performance-based?
So with CrossFit, when I decided to do that, first of all, it was just a fun thing. At that point, I didn't I knew enough about nutrition to be healthy. But I wouldn't say, because I didn't coach for nutrition then. I had a dietitian that did all the stuff for my clients back then. Um, I reckon I just ate. But because of my training, I was training 3 hours a day. So the fun CrossFit over the course of 1 year, I fell into like getting onto the competitive side of it because I just loved it so much and was progressing so fast. We were like 3 hours a day of training. You're more risk of under eating than overeating. But if you like, I did put on a lot of muscle, and I give so much credit to my physique that was presented at the 2019 FMG show, BBFF show, from CrossFit, because of the amount of weightlifting and gymnastics involved. You're if you are good at that stuff, like it's in your genes, right? You will pack the muscle on. And there are phases of my CrossFit career where I look at myself and I'm like, mate, you really were just eating, weren't you? There were points I'm like, you should have probably eaten less. But, at that time, honestly, I didn't care or even notice. I just wanted to perform well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then coming back to the FMG world title, what did that actually take, like, through that prep, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, to get to the stage in that condition and actually win the title?
So when I had my son Billy, that was 2023. I always knew in the back of my head that I had to do another pro show. Well, I had to do the pro show. I hadn't had the opportunity yet because COVID canceled the previous ones. Throughout my pregnancy, I always trained, just with different intention. And then post-pregnancy, postpartum, I could move again after 2 weeks. I was just doing light banded work, moving my body after 2 weeks. Within 8 weeks, I was training like a normal, my previous self. Within 12 weeks, I think I had sort of like my baseline developed again. And from there, it was just building up. I always had it in the back of my head. I'm like, I have to do this other show. And I chose this show because my partner is in defense, and I knew that he was going to be home around the time of this August show for New Zealand. A really good friend of mine, Graham, she owns the rights to the New Zealand show. I really wanted to support her for this as well. So I'm like, this is the show for me. Like everything is pointing in this direction. And then Worlds was 2 weeks after. So I'm like, all right, I don't know if I'm going to do Worlds yet. I'm open to it, but I need to be the standard I want. Regardless of placings, I have to be better than where I was before that 2021 show canceled, because I had got myself in really good condition. I needed to be better than that. And that was like my rule. If I'm not, I'm not going to do it. And I think the appeal as well, my partner went away for 5 months, January to May of last year. And that left me to be a solo parent. And it was really isolating. And I needed something to kind of pull my head out of feeling sorry for myself. And I needed something to focus on. And I'm like, everything about this show aligns. It's giving me something to give to me. It's challenging me. Like, I don't know if I can get this physique back after having a baby. Who knows? I'll probably be worse. I don't know. The show aligned, the dates aligned. I'm like, let's just do it. And then I hired Jake Campus for my coach. And he is an effing genius and got me in the most insane physique naturally that I did not think was humanly possible for me.
Yes, incredible. And then during that prep, did you have any moments that you just wanted to quit? And, like, what actually keeps you going in those moments?
I actually did nearly quit. I think it might have been about 16 or 17 weeks out. I started, like, I was posing, but then I think I started, like, I hired someone to coach me for posing, and my mobility had been so messed up from pregnancy. I was like, I don't know if I can hit the positions I need to. Like, what's the point of having this great rig if I can't show it? We all know how important posing is, right? And, like, it was like a punch in the face. I was like, reality check. I actually don't think I could pose. And I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, I just forked out the $600 or $700 for hair and makeup. And I told my coach, Jake, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And he's like, why don't just do it? Just follow through. And I'm like, fine. Let's just see what happens. And we posed around it.
Around the
We had to
mobility?
pose around so much shit to portray what needed to be seen.
Yeah. I think
So
that's a key
posing, yeah.
part though, is like when people are looking at you on stage, they would have no idea that you're posing around, certain things that you can't hit because of mobility or whatever's going on. I think, often like in your own head, there's something that's such a big problem, but there's always a way around it if you have the right people to help you, right?
Yeah, that is exactly it. Christina from Posing Boutique. I think, is
Yeah,
she your posing coach as well?
she is. She's
Yeah.
incredible.
We did
So, so
some
good.
work around it. We worked really hard. There were some days I'm like, mate, I can't do that. Nope. And I'm like, I don't know what we can do. What's left? And we made it work.
Yes, and your posing looked incredible. So, yes, I'll actually link Christina down below as well because she is
Yeah.
absolutely
She
amazing.
is, she's a go-to. And
Yeah.
then to be honest, after the New Zealand show, I was insanely proud of myself and so happy with what I presented. But I'm like, I'm not doing worlds because I'm not good enough. Like, I genuinely believed it. And it was because I came second in opens. And I'm like, well, what's the point? If I come second in opens, like, the standard in worlds is insane. Like, I only want to do it if I've got a possibility of top three. That was always my thing. And so I was like, I don't want to do it. And I was kind of okay with it. Like, it was okay. I wasn't like upset. But then I actually ran into Pauline and Ari at the airport and just wanted to tell them how much I loved the FMG show, because the guys who ran the New Zealand FMG show, like, good luck to anyone else topping that. They were amazing. Every detail was covered. Every detail. It's a beautiful, amazing show, and you can tell it's run by women. Anyway, so I I ran into these guys at the airport, and I just wanted to tell them, hey, the show was amazing. And they're like, Tammie, oh my gosh. And they gave me the feedback right then and there. And I was actually mind blown that they gave me the time of day to give me the feedback, because that's not what I intended to get from them. And they convinced me to do the show because they thought I had a good shot. And I was like, all right, well, okay. They think I've got a good shot. And they told me, like, this was also in my written feedback from the show, so it still came to me. They're like, you just need to get leaner through the quads. That's it. And I'm like, game on, motherfuckers. I'll get leaner through the quads. And I did. We, like, crushed my soul in those 2 weeks. And we did it. Like, we got the quads down. Didn't think I could get any more conditioned. And then, yeah, so rock up to Worlds. I was really happy with my outcome. And that's at that point, that's all I really cared about because I'm like, I will never look this great again for stage. This is all I've got. This is everything I've got. So whatever the outcome, I'm happy. And yeah, it just went down well.
How did it feel when they actually called your name as the FMG World Champion?
It is surreal because I think for anyone, we do these shows and you're on stage. It is like your alter ego. It's not you in your everyday. Like, I am probably the most daggiest, ditziest mum. I've got like snot on my shirt, there's nappies, that is me in every day. And then you're on stage, blitzed up to the nines in like a $3,000 bikini. Like, it's all of it is so surreal. So it always just feels like this 24 hours of a dream. And I'm sure you understand what I mean. Like, it's just such a contrast and so far fetched from everyday life. And when you're on stage, there's just so many, it's definitely a sensory overload. There's the lights, the music, the tan, the makeup, all of it. It never really makes sense at the time. So I
Yeah,
don't think I
absolutely.
really comprehended. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more with like that 24 hours being so different to your everyday life outside of competing. And I don't think there's anyone that could say like that the actual show day and the actual, being on stage and competing is similar at all to the everyday life. Like even girly girls who are put together all the time, competing is just a whole nother levels. Yeah, I
On
think
every aspect, right? Like, just everything, and the time just goes by so fast. It's like everything melts into the next, you're getting your hair and makeup done and then suddenly you're pumping up and then it's all so surreal. And I just love the alter ego it pulls out of you.
yeah.
Anyone who does these shows, it's like we've all got this tiny little piece of us where we're just born to be these like over the top divas, and that's our portal.
Yes, absolutely. And so
Yeah.
moving on to your coaching as well, because you do coach a lot of women and you work with, busy women every day. What patterns do you see over and over when it comes to body image and self-belief?
Oh, this breaks my heart. So I've been in this industry for 15 years. And not just women, but I mainly work with women, men too. Just the self-esteem that's connected with their appearance. Some people I just find this heartbreaking every single day of their life. The fixation on how they look and everything that they eat, like this carb is going to make me fat. Oh, I can't eat the fruit. It's going to make me fat. Just because of what the world has drilled into them has become their belief. And can you imagine like that constant static of having to look a certain way and it's just consuming and they're unhappy. They're so unhappy. So when I get these clients, which is 98% of them, people come to coaches because they either want to perform or look better, right? And most of the people who want to look better, it's because they're deeply unhappy. And they might look amazing, but they don't, it's not about how they look, it's what's inside. So when we work together coaching, when we rebuild their relationship with food, when we get them in the right type of training, and they detach food from, food is fuel for exercise. When they start to learn that and appreciate qualities of food, nutrients of food, that you're rewarding your body, you're supporting your body, then you go into the gym and then you do hard things and then you get better at the hard things and you build physical strength. You start to feel better in a day. The looking better is a side effect of all of this stuff. When they start to feel better every day because they're getting stronger, fitter, healthier, eating nutritious food, and they come to me and they, report back, I don't feel so tired. I have more energy. Like, that is part of feeling good. Then you've got the gym that's giving them the reinforcement that they're capable, that adds to them feeling good. They start to realize that they have potential in this world. They're more than just their bodies. And then their bodies do start to change because of all this work they're putting in. And, over time, they transform everything. They transfer their mindset, their relationship with the food, their body's changing. They're happy. They're less fixated on how they look because no one fucking cares if you have abs or not. Like, People don't. No one cares. You might get a compliment and then that person will carry on, go do their grocery shopping, and that's the end of it, right? And it's freeing for them to let go of having to care so much about their body. And I just love that so much.
I absolutely love that. And what do you say to women who they come to you and they need to make change, but they don't think they have time to train or feel good in their bodies?
Oh, there's always a way. I'll find a way. Like if they don't have time to train, I would just start with get your steps up. We'll worry about that later. Let's just build the basic habits of human health. Move a little bit more. Tell me when you can do, go for a walk in the morning and at night. Tell me. All right. That's it. That's all we're doing for week 1. And then some basic things with nutrition, literally just to build the baseline habits because most people just feel really overwhelmed. And I think it's in their mind, they're like, oh, for me to get healthier and fitter, I have to do all of these things. I can't possibly fit that into my life. So some super basics, get your steps in, add fruit and veggies to lunch and dinner, eat protein at 3 main meals, super basic stuff. And then, a week later, Tammy, I did it. Oh my gosh, I actually feel really good. I'm like, from these tiny basic things. Cool. What do you want? What do you think you have time for now? We just sort of negotiate what little tiny things that they can bring into their day that support their goal and make them feel better. And eventually they find time for the gym. I haven't had anyone that hasn't found time for the gym.
Yes, absolutely. It's like that balance of making sacrifices from other areas, right, to fit in what's important to
Absolutely.
you now.
Always. And there's always a way. Like I think if someone comes to you to begin with, they just they want it. They want to make the sacrifice somewhere. It's just overwhelming and scary for them. So then it's our job to make it not overwhelming and scary and just baby step into it and help them navigate their way to finding a way that works for them.
Yes, 100%. And I feel like that measure of success, like for your clients, but then also for you personally, would be constantly changing as you progress. How do you personally measure success now
For my clients
for
or for
yourself?
me? For me. For my success. What, right? Like now in my life?
Yeah.
Right now in my life, I'm just content living every day, to be honest. I've always had goals and things to work for probably my whole life. And this is the first time I think in my life where I'm actually really content and happy to just sit back and just enjoy each day. And, being a mum, embrace that time with my little guy. Well, he's this little before he, goes to school and all that stuff. And I think that is success. Actually, that's a really good one. I feel content, and success to me is probably just having a good family life at this point.
Yeah, I love that. And have you always felt confident, or is that something you had to build?
Definitely
Because
not.
obviously you look so confident on stage.
Absolutely not. I think for the greater part of school and my early 20s, I was so self conscious and about my body. And I am glad that I found fitness because I don't have a feminine physique. I don't have a little waist or hips. I'm literally up and down. Like from the back, I remember seeing myself at the beach and I'm like, I look like a 9-year-old boy. What the fuck? And I just, I, I didn't make sense in my head. I'm like, why? I'm 25 years old and I look like a 9-year-old boy. This is so unfair. So training really helped me find a more feminine physique, which sounds so backwards, right? Because muscles, most people connect that to masculinity, but it gave me more shape and I just love my body so much more now than then. But I think it's because I'm capable. Like the feeling of strength for a female is the most empowering thing that I think a woman can give herself. And I wish that more women would give that to themselves.
Yes, absolutely agreed. And you've worked with some pretty big brands, including Bulk Nutrients. How did you actually come about getting these brand deals? Is that something that like they just reached out to you? You knew someone? Like, how did that actually work?
Nutrients reached out to me, I think I can't remember if it was before it must have been just after the 2019 WBFF show. One of the guys reached out to me and he's like, I just love that you train all these different things. He's like, you're a CrossFitter, but you're a bodybuilder and you're a power lifter. This is so intriguing to me. Do you want to, write blogs for us? And I was like, yeah, cool. So I started writing blogs for them and, paid work. And then that was 2019. I'm still with them. I don't do the blogs anymore, but I think I've been with them 5 or 6 years. And they're an amazing team to work for. They, they're located in Tassie. It's very much family orientated brand where as an ambassador, they don't push stuff on you like, you've got KPIs to hit. You must sell this, talk about that, promote that. They're like, do you want to talk about these list of products? Pick what you use, pick what you like, feel forced, don't pretend with anything. And so we naturally just promote the stuff we like because we use it. So it's genuine. They're just honestly beautiful people to work with. They've got a big team. I don't know, maybe like 30, 40 athletes.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome to have that long-term connection with them.
Yeah, they're beautiful. And they send me a Christmas present. They would send
I
all
love
their
that.
athletes Christmas. They're really nice. And it makes you want to promote them because they're good people. So it's all
Yeah.
very genuine working for a group like that.
Yeah, 100%. And what's next for you, whether that's, like, personally, competitively, or professionally in your business?
Look, oh, man, last year was so big. Last year, look, we moved into our new forever home 2 weeks after Worlds. So that was a huge thing. We own a property in Brisbane. So now having our own home here in Townsville was a huge, huge goal ticked off. And then I did a 4-week trip in Europe. So right now, honestly, my goal right now is just live my life, enjoy. And I'm very grateful for the life I've got and I want to live it. I want to feel it every day. And I don't think there's any personal goals because I am quite content there at the moment. But business, I mean, you always want to grow. You always want to grow. I will continue, trying to grow my business and it's quite successful as is, but as a business owner, you always want more. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything like direct, but yeah, 2026
Yeah.
is the year of me just chilling out, I think.
Amazing, and that is honestly, like, I think one of the hardest goals, especially for people who are into competing or run their own businesses. Like, it's so hard to just be content with what you've achieved and where you've gotten to and actually, show up for those around you. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it actually feels really nice to be content. I think you
Yeah.
miss it. I think people like me with that constant goal, you're always striving for more, more, more. It is very easy to forget that once upon a time that goal was something you dreamt of. And then when you achieve it and you're into the next thing, I don't think you truly appreciate or embrace that you achieved it, that it happened. So yeah, I'm happy to just be right now, I think.
Yes, I love that. And what's one final piece of advice that you wish all first-time competitors knew?
Okay. First time competitors. Your first show sets you up for greatness. And that first show, regardless of if you win, come second or third or whatever you place, if you are someone who truly wants to do good in this sport, if you look at the great athletes, they are ones that have continued to pursue the goal because they've given themselves the time. They've done shows and more shows where they've learnt more about their physiques, they've learnt more about the prep, they've learnt more about how to be better, and then give them, 4, 5, 6 years, they can achieve those physiques that you dream of. But if you give up after first year, that's just, it's not going to be you. All of those great physiques are made with so much time and they made it there because everyone else gave up.
So, so true. Patience, I
Yeah,
think, is the biggest thing you can learn in this sport. Like, if you can be patient for years, not just, half a year or a quarter of a year while you're in a prep, I think that's going to get you so much more further than just trying to throw yourself into more and more shows.
absolutely. So I would look at it as like, all right, in 6 or 7 years, I want my pro card, not this show. You might get it this show, congratulations, but are you world class physique? I highly doubt your first show you are. So just keep going and you will, you'll head in that direction.
Absolutely. And where can people find you to work with you and follow you to see the rest of your journey?
Well, my Instagram page, which is Tammie Sarkozy _ fitness pro, or my website, www.tammiesarkozy.com.au. And yeah, you can just send me a DM and chat and go from there.
Perfect. I'll link those down below so people can find you. But thank you so much for your time and for sharing more of your incredible journey of how you got to where you are today.
Thank you so much for having me on here. Thank
Of
you.
course. And thank you so much to our listeners as well. If you could share this episode to your stories if you enjoyed it, let us know what you're doing while you're listening to it or what you learned. Tag both of us as well. We love to see it. And don't forget to follow on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Thank you so much.